Yo, what's up? Welcome to Kinda Funny Games Daily for Thursday, September 22nd, 2022. I'm one of your hosts, Blessing Adeoye Jr., and I'm joined by Funke Joseph, formerly of Fanbyte. Funke, how's it going?
Yo, 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 yo. It is going okay.
It's going real medium out over here. It's going real
Totally
all right.
medium. Like I've seen worse, I've seen better, but we're chilling today, you know?
We're
Good
chilling.
morning.
I'm very excited to do this episode with you because for a very long time I've actually wanted to make content with you. I've gotten to sit down. I forget if you were during Game Awards last year.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Fanbyte did a whole stream and I came through and I hung out for a bit. I forget if I got to talk on the mic with you. I remember talking with Nikki and I
Off
don't
of
know if
the mic
Imran,
we
but
spoke for a bit, but not on the mic, I don't think.
yeah, and I think that's probably the one time I've met you in real life, which you saw me at my most hungover. Like that
Really?
was the day after the Game Awards, and let me tell you,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
I was half functioning. I was barely hanging in there, but I had committed to being on this Fanbyte stream. So I was like, you know what,
Hmm.
man, let's do it. Let's sit down, let's talk. And oh boy, was I barely hanging in there? But it was a good time. I had a really fun time meeting everybody over there.
Hell yeah. It was nice to have you too. LA is so crazy. That was my first time there, and I was just like, whoa, like the movies are real. Like this place is a real place. I thought it was fake.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I feel like everyone was kind of on that come down that day because we were all moving like robots. Like, mans were up late last
Oh
night.
my
Like,
goodness. Yeah, it was one of those things where because it was like we've been through the pandemic for multiple years at that point. You know,
mhm.
things start to happen, things start to open up. The Game Awards was I want to say my first event that I did as
Mm.
like a member of Kind of Funny, and so it had been years since I've seen people, and
Oh
I think
shit.
all of that energy was pent up between everybody, where everybody's like, I've not seen games industry people in years, and so we're gonna on the night of Game Awards after the awards, we walk over to the hotel bar and let's just fucking like have a good time. Let's talk to each other. Let's drink. Let's do all that stuff, and
Yeah.
basically stay up, right, and run the night and and take back the night. I should say. But yeah, that then leads to the next morning waking up and being like, oh, I don't want to do anything. Like just get me on a plane home. I can't do this anymore. But it was a really
Yeah.
fun time. Funke, of course, this week on Kind of Funny Games Daily, we've been having an assortment of guests with the common thing of people have been laid off, right? We've had
Yes.
Nikki earlier this week. We had Jen yesterday, right? Laid off from Android Central. You're another person from Fanbyte, a friend from Fanbyte, who unfortunately got laid off last week. If I can ask, like, how's your last week been for you?
It's been kind of just like a dream. It feels like I don't even know what's going on. It was like a really big shock. I'm sure you've heard the story a couple of times, just like how it happened, but it was probably the worst I've ever seen it happen. And I've been following the games industry for a while, and like this just felt out of the blue, dude. Like
Hmm.
we had so many plans, and for some dude to just like come up, like my boss's bosses to come in and be like, yeah, yeah, y'all are all gone. Like I was in an interview, like I was interviewing the people from Wild Rift, the mobile game for League of Legends, and I was like doing the interview, and I was like, okay, there's a break in the interview. Let me check my Twitter real quick. And I see like editor in chief Danielle Riendo be like, hey, I don't have a job. And I was like, huh,
That's interesting. That's my editor in chief.
that's
Uh,
my boss. And then I see my
yeah,
other boss, John, like also tweet that. Then I was like, something's up. Like
yeah.
something is up. So I kind of left the interview, and since then it's been a weird era. But I don't know. I was really down the first day, but then the second day, like a lot of opportunities came in. Like even this, I was like, oh shit, like this is an awesome show. Thanks for having me.
Heck yeah.
But I don't know. It's been comforting to realize that this isn't the end of the world. Like I'm 24. This is just getting started in the industry, and I don't know. I'm excited for
Oh
what's to
yeah.
come.
Have you started thinking about next steps or what you want to do for the time being or in the future?
Yeah, I think I want to take like a month or so just relaxing because I've been on a grind since school and then graduated school into job, and I haven't like relaxed for a while. So I'm gonna do that and then hop into the freelance grind. But I also want to get into the other side of games, like writing narrative work. That stuff is really, really cool. And in all my critiques and work at Fanbyte, I always find myself being like, dang, the people who make this stuff are so cool. Like I want to
Hmm.
learn how they're doing that. Like I want to learn that process. So I've been like putting out feelers and slowly getting to the groove of how do you actually crack into that zone. So yeah,
Heck yeah.
that's
I
that's
love
my
that because
gameplay.
that also feeds into a little bit of what we're going to talk about today on the show. Because of course,
Oh,
like there was the news
absolutely.
of Dunkey starting a video game publisher, and as I've been like compiling the news and reading the news and like watching Dunkey's video and all this stuff, right? I had sort of the thought of there's the I don't know if you've heard the idea or the saying of every rapper wants to be a basketball player, whereas every basketball player wants to be a rapper. I feel like the
Yes.
same goes for like video games media and people in development, where like every video games media person or reviewer or critic wants to be a video game developer, but every video game developer wants to be like a YouTuber or a content creator.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about that later in the show. But before we get in there, my last question, well, two more questions for you. One, what did you do at Fanbyte when you were there?
Yeah. So I was the featured contributor, and I did a lot of reporting on cyberspace and video games. So that's like interviews, reviews, and op-eds. Did a lot of that kind of stuff, and also video hosting. Like I ran some of the streams and did some like one-off video projects and stuff. It was really fun. Like John Warren hit me up for this position, and it was really flexible and could kind of go into all of the realms of games that I'm interested in. So it was really cool to test out all that stuff and make really cool stuff with an amazing team that like I still love to this day. They're
Heck
so
yeah,
awesome.
that's awesome. And then my final question for you is, what is your favorite game of all time?
Of all time.
Of all
Ooh.
time.
Okay, for this year, I will have to say Elden Ring, obviously. But
Mhm.
Omega Strikers is pretty fire for game of the year. All time, I gotta
Omega
say,
Strikers. That's the new
yeah,
one, right?
that's the new one. It feels like League of Legends air hockey is my best pitch for it.
Interesting.
Yeah, like top
I'm
down.
I'm
It's
fascinated because like I went to the preview event for Omega Strikers,
oh yeah.
and let me tell you, I was so unimpressed. Like
Really?
I played one match, and I was like, I don't really need to play the rest of this. We'll see how this pans out. And like I saw it got announced late last week,
Yeah.
and we didn't recover it. Like I was just like, I don't know if people are gonna care about this as much.
Mhm.
I'm so excited to hear that like there's people out there that are into Omega Strikers, that I might
I
be wrong
am
about this
way
thing.
too into that game. Like I've been grinding. I've been laid off, as you know, and
Mhm.
I've been playing that game, and I got to like the top 200 out of 100,000. So like I'm on the hockey grind. Like I get it.
Hell
People
yeah.
who play it's like soccer and hockey combined with like a MOBA top down visuals. It's just like my exact kind of shit. So I really mess with it.
Amazing.
But of all time, I gotta say it's Mirror's Edge. Like that game, the
A person
parkour.
of taste.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay, I appreciate you.
It's
Mirror's Edge doesn't come
parkour
up enough.
season. Yeah,
Heck
dude,
yeah.
like that's one of my favorite games because the gunplay in that game is so weak. It's like the worst guns I've ever played in any game. So
Mhm.
it really encourages you to like
To
run off
not
of
use the guns.
walls. Yeah, to not use the guns, like do like a full just like pacifist playthrough where you're just like knocking people out and running and just dodging things. And I think that's so cool from a game design standpoint. Like that's the shit I really love.
Yesterday on PSW, actually, I guess today for people that are listening, right? Jana Garcia, one of the hosts, she had an
Mhm.
amazing quote where she was describing Tinykin, and she was like, "This game is an 8 out of 10 game that I love, or yeah, an 8 out of 10 game that I love like it's a 10 out of 10." Mirror's Edge is my example of that is an 8 out of 10 game that I love like a fucking 10 out of 10. I'll play Mirror's
Yes!
Edge.
Just a heads
all
up
the
that
time.
that'll be tomorrow's PS I Love You.
Oh, is that tomorrow?
Yeah.
Wait, what's today? Wait,
Today's Thursday.
why did we record that so early?
Because of schedule stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, well, I guess you guys will get that episode tomorrow. But yeah, like that Mirror's Edge, I'm right there with you. Like,
Dude,
that's
yeah,
on
it
my
has a
list of
spot,
like
like, right
favorites of all
here.
time. It's so good. The aesthetic of it is so good. The soundtrack of it's so good. The colors.
Dude, the colors, yeah, the colors pop so much. Like it's such a white and gray aesthetic, but then the red, it guides your eyes so much on like what to jump on, where to go, like where the secrets are.
Yeah.
That's that good shit.
Amazing. Well, Funke, enough about Mirror's Edge. Let's talk about today's stories, which includes Cyberpunk's resurgence not slowing down. New publishers and developers have been announced and more, because this is Kinda Funny Games Daily. Each and every weekday at 10 a.m. live right here on youtube.com/kindafunnygames. We run you through the nerdy news you need to know about. If you're watching live, you can correct us when we get stuff wrong by going to kindafunny.com/you're wrong. If you don't want to watch live, you can watch later on youtube.com/kindafunnygames, roosterteeth.com, or you can listen later on podcast services around the globe by searching for Kinda Funny Games Daily. Remember, you can use Epic Creator Code Kinda Funny on all Epic Store and Epic in-game purchases like Rocket League and Fortnite to help support the channel. To be a part of the show, to patreon.com/kindafunnygames, or bronze members or above get to write in, and silver members or above get the show ad-free with exclusive daily post show. Housekeeping for you, a new Kinda Funny Gamescast is up right now, and it's our Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope preview. That is Greg, Mike, Andy, and Parris talking about their time with the game. And if that's not enough, the post show for that one is a chaotic round of Kinda Feudy that you don't want to miss. It's one that features Snow Mike. And so Snow Mike is on a Kinda Feudy, just know it's gonna be a 10 out of 10 episode because it is the most chaotic. Mike brings such a chaotic energy into it. If you want to see that, if you want to see a Mike moment, go to Kinda Funny's Twitter, go to our TikTok. One of the latest posts we've done is a clip from Mike on Kinda Feudy weeks and weeks ago, where he's just a madman. I don't want to spoil it for you, but he's just a madman, and he's wonderful, and I love him. Go check out that episode of Kinda Funny Gamescast and listen to the post show. And then over on youtube.com/kindafunny, our screencast for She-Hulk is up. Thank you to our Patreon producer, Fargo Brady. Today we're brought to you by Shopify and MeUndies, but we'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin with what is, and forever will be, the Roper Report. It's time for some news. We have 7 stories today.
A baker's dozen.
Starting with our number 1, Cyberpunk 2077's resurgence continues with 1 million players per day. This comes from Ryan Dinsdale and George Yang at IGN. Cyberpunk 2077's resurgence is showing no signs of slowing down, as developer CD Projekt Red has announced that at least 1 million people have played the game each day this week. The impressive numbers were announced in a tweet showing that the Cyberpunk Edgerunners anime, multiple updates to the game, and the announcement of its first major expansion have seemingly triggered a wave of new interest. Quote, each day of this week, Night City has been visited by 1 million players, both new and returning, CD Projekt Red said in a tweet. They continue, quote, we wanted to use this opportunity to thank to thank you for being with us and playing the game. Thanks, Chooms. End quote. Funke, are you a Cyberpunk person? What's your read on Cyberpunk? Oh, Funke, you are muted.
Whoops. Hey, yeah, I'm absolutely a Cyberpunk person. I actually really loved the launch of Cyberpunk 2077. It was really messy and imperfect. Like, I loved looking at all the bugs and playing through on day one when, like, you could see trees from everywhere. Like, no matter where you were standing, you could see every tree. Like, those kind of glitches were just really funny. I describe it as like watching a car crash and burn, but like 24 hours in, the car landed and extinguished the fire and was actually a really, really cool car. Like, it did some tricks at the end. Like that, the late game of Cyberpunk 2077 is really, really good narrative work that it's hard for me to recommend to someone because the beginning chunks of it were really rough for me. But once you get into like the Badlands, you meet like Pan Am and you hear those plot lines. Like, that's the stuff where it's like, dang, Night City is pretty cool. It like drops that irreverent kind of corny humor and shows something that feels genuine.
When Cyberpunk becomes earnest, I think that's when that game really shines. Because I think the one that we reference a lot, the moment we reference a lot in Cyberpunk, is there's a scene with the funeral. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I remember doing that scene and me being like, dude, they're nailing this. Like, I'm having feels that I wasn't expecting having during this game. And yeah, you're right. Like, toward the latter half of the game, there are quite a few moments that I thought were really good. Again, really earnest, and explored that game's world in ways that I appreciated way more than the moments that it decided to be like this super edgy, super, hey, we're Cyberpunk and like we're hanging out with the baddest of the baddest on the streets and like
we're crazy,
we're crazy, dude. Like when the game leaned into that side of itself, those are the moments that I didn't love as much. I remember the thing I brought up famously on our review and on like content during that time was like when I was reviewing the game, and this is before the day one patch, there were dildos everywhere in Cyberpunk 2077. Like, I remember doing the final mission and I'm taking out dudes and this is this big moment, and dudes I was killing, I would loot them and there'd be dildos on them, and I'm like, why are you carrying this?
He keeps that thing on him. They keep that thing on him.
Like, literally, they keep that thing on him. And that for me, that was so jarring with the stuff about Cyberpunk that I think did work really well in the writing.
Yeah, because it's definitely trying to be serious in those later parts. Like, it is hitting these emotional points, but it is just. It's something that was so hard for me to recommend, but actually the last piece I wrote for Fanbyte, maybe the last piece of the old Fanbyte guard, was my review of Cyberpunk Edgerunners. And I was just like, hey, y'all, like, this is this is Cyberpunk. Like, I think it kind of revitalizes the name, and it makes it way easier for me to recommend this series to people because I'm like, hey, okay, watch the show, and then you like that show, check out the game. Like, sure, it may have some bugs at the start, but there's something really special once you get a few hours in.
Yeah. Have you gotten
And
to return to it after a while?
I actually re-downloaded it, and I was watching a couple of my friends stream it, but I haven't opened it yet. But I think I might do a new playthrough.
So funny
It's
enough,
that season.
I mean, it is that season. Let's do it. When they announced cross progression, I was like, okay, let's go, because that's been one of the things that's been keeping me back from going back into Cyberpunk is the fact that when
Really?
I reviewed it on PC. I didn't want to review it on PC. Like that was just the review code they gave us, and if you remember, like those are
The
reasons for that.
consoles were busted too.
Yeah, it's because the console versions were busted. So they gave us one code. That code was a PC code, and I was the assigned reviewer, so I played it all on PC. Finished it, and once I finished it, I was like, "Cool. Now I'm gonna play it again on console. I really enjoyed this game. I'm gonna play the way I want to play it. I'm gonna get the trophies. I'm just gonna enjoy it on my console as opposed to my PC."
Yeah.
And then the consoles version came out, and those versions were terrible. And I was like, "Well, I guess I'm just not gonna replay this game."
Mhm.
And so it's just been stuck on my PC ever since. And with crossplay coming out, and with the Edgerunners update, and with other people
Yeah.
going in, I've taken this as my chance to maybe revisit. And it's been that funny thing of me forgetting what my status was in terms of, do I even still have my save? Like, when was it a review? Was it one of the review copies that like
They
deletes your
got
save?
wiped.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it'll get wiped. And so I was on my PC searching for Cyberpunk, like
Mm.
going onto the Epic Game Store, being like, "Oh wait, it doesn't even say I have it." And then it struck that like, "Oh wait, no, I played this on GOG Galaxy, the GOG launcher, right?"
Oh
Because
my
if you
god.
remember, that's like owned by I think it is CD Projekt, right?
CD Projekt.
God,
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Oh my
But
god.
so they gave you
Yeah.
the code through that?
They gave us the code through that. Yeah. And so I was
That
like,
is
do I even
wild.
so I installed GOG Galaxy. I then installed all of the gigs of Cyberpunk. I saw you spill that water. All of the gigs of Cyberpunk back onto my PC. And then I went into the game. I then uploaded my cloud save, and I then went on my PS5 and I downloaded the cloud save. It worked seamlessly, and now my save for Cyberpunk is on there. And
Okay.
when I tell you that like it felt right, right? Like I started
Mm.
playing and I was like, oh man, I feel like I'm back home. And I haven't gotten to deep dive yet, but you talk about the Badlands, you talk about like missions with Pan Am and all that stuff. I somehow, when I booted up my save, I don't remember when I started this mission or why I started this mission, but I was in the middle of like a very like important mission with Pan Am. And it was one of those ones where I get to the end of the mission and it is us sitting at a bonfire with the crew.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, Pan Am's like, okay, well, we gotta wait for these people to roll up. While we're here, though, like it turns into me flirting with Pan Am, and like
Of course.
it was such a good scene. It was such a like it reminded me of how good the dialogue sequences are in Cyberpunk in terms of the set dressing and like characters doing
Yeah.
other things, and like, oh, this character's playing a guitar while this character is like stoking the fire,
They
and I'm
have
like
their own
looking at Pan
lives,
Am.
for real.
Yeah, it feels like such a lived-in world in the moment.
Mhm.
And I had me excited to maybe play more. Like I don't know if I'm gonna play more at this moment, but like I kind of want to. I was really into it for the
Yeah.
20 minutes that I played yesterday.
It really is good at curating that environment. Like specifically those moments with Pan Am. I remember there was one of those like really heartfelt moments where she was driving us like at the end of a mission and she was saying some stuff that was like, damn, like this really puts Night City into perspective and all of these like corpo businesses. But she was saying that while it was a glitch and I was inside of her, like I could see her eyeballs in front of my
Amazing.
character and like the teeth, and I was like, this is really taking away from like the impactful writing because
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in her blood. Like it's weird.
Now, $1 million question, I guess million player question here. Do you think Edgerunners is gonna save Cyberpunk 2077 like as a game/IP? Do you think this is the kick in the ass
Yeah.
that it needs to now become something that is beloved and something that people can actually support, play, get into, all that stuff?
I genuinely do. Like that was a part of the op-ed that I wrote. Like this game comes out at a time where there's been a bunch of updates for Cyberpunk. Like the launch is done, like that's in the past, and this game is kind of salvaging the wreckage of that launch and can help push Cyberpunk into a series that like people can be proud to like and not be like, well, I like it, but also there's this that's wrong with it and this is wrong with it. But once you get past that,
Mhm.
yeah, I think Edgerunners is that like that solution.
Yeah, I'm so fascinated to see where they go with it. Just because the big expansion coming up next year is the first and seemingly last expansion for at least this version of Cyberpunk 2077. But you
Yeah.
imagine that Cyberpunk continues to live. I'm sure they make a new game, like, or they find some way to further the IP.
Cyberpunk 2078.
Yeah, Cyberpunk 2078. I'm sure, like, my prediction is they call it Cyberpunk and then a new, like, I don't know, like Cyberpunk relived or Cyberpunk. I'm not a
Yeah.
good person and I'm not good. I'm not good at naming things, but like give it a new suffix. But whatever it is, right? Like I do think that right now we're kind of seeing a turn in terms of how people perceive Cyberpunk. Like I know there's still a great amount of people that are like,
Yeah.
if they make a new Cyberpunk game, I'm not playing that shit at launch, and I think that's totally understandable.
But yeah, the
But
temperature check, like it's changed. Like
yeah,
the consensus about that game is definitely different. Did you get a chance to watch any of the show yet?
I'm most of the way through it. I just got to episode 6 or 7.
Yeah, dude, that animation, like I
It's real good.
love Studio Trigger so much, and I was like, dang, they are the ones on this project. Like, it's gonna go well. It's gonna
yeah.
go well.
What are some of the other stuff that they've worked on? I've heard of them like over and over again.
Yeah,
I think Kill a Kill. Was
yeah,
them?
Kill a Kill,
okay.
Promare, the movie. Some of the people at Studio Trigger worked on Gurren Lagann as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, just a lot of older anime.
That's awesome.
Well, we'll see how Cyberpunk goes. But for now, let's hop into story number 2. A gaming YouTuber, Dunkey, sets up an indie game publishing company. This comes from Ryan Leston at IGN. Video game YouTuber Dunkey is starting an indie game publisher. The popular gaming YouTuber Jason Yevgeny, sorry if I mispronounced the name, Gastro, aka Dunkey, has announced Big Mode, a new gaming publisher that will help indie games stand out from the crowd. Quote, I've been on YouTube for 11 years now, and one of the core themes of my channel has always been to slam dunk soulless cash grabs into the garbage can and lift up and praise the truly inspired works of art in this medium, said Gastro. Quote, for years and years, I've always sought out the very best indie games out there and have tried to do them justice, putting millions of eyes on the games that actually deserve attention, end quote. Gastro has amassed over 7 million subscribers and several billion views. That's quite a built-in audience for any indie game developer thinking of signing up for this for his new publisher. However, he explained that Big Mode will be a continuation of his channel. Quote, a lot of games out there understand how to emulate the look of your favorite games, but don't deliver where it actually counts. Many of the true games out there are being drowned out in a sea of mediocrity. You need someone who can help you be seen, end quote. Big Mode is founded by Gastro along with his wife, fellow YouTuber Leah B. Gastro. Dunkey wants to be involved in Big Mode's games development, but says he knows what works due to his countless hours playing them. Quote, I understand what kind of ideas always work, what ideas never work, what kind of ideas are fresh or need to come back, and what is extremely played out, he added. Quote, I'm hyping myself up a lot in this video, but Big Mode will be all about building up the games and developers. We put a lot of effort into making the most developer-friendly contracts possible. I think we're going to bring insane value to the table, and the bottom line is help good games succeed and help them continue to succeed into the future, end quote. One aspect that seems to be a real crowd pleaser is that Big Mode will not publish any games containing NFTs, blockchains, or crypto. Developers can already get in touch with Big Mode to submit their games for consideration. Funke, first of all, are you familiar with Dunkey? Do you watch Dunkey's content?
Absolutely, yeah. Dunkey, I'm a huge fan. Like I watched him all through high school. Specifically the League of Legends videos. I was there when he made the transition into being like, I am done making League of Legends videos, and then started doing like indie work and really, yeah, promoting a bunch of games that I had never heard of. And there's a bunch of games like he has shown me that have become some of my favorites. So I'm pretty hyped on this. Not gonna
Pretty
lie.
hyped on this. So I'm in the same place as far as I'm also a fan of Dunkey. Like I can't.
The dude's funny.
He's
Like,
really funny.
yeah.
I came in after his League of Legends stuff. Probably like shortly after his League of Legends stuff. But I used to I watched all of his like game reviews, like all of his comedy videos. I think he's really funny, and he's one of those people that like when I think about what my gaming tastes are or what I value in games, he lines up with that in a good way, right? Like I can kind of trust Dunkey to maybe share a lot of the same tastes that I do. Which comes back a little bit to how I feel about this publishing thing, because I've seen this divide the internet a little bit. I've seen a lot of people be like,
yeah.
oh man, just because you like games means like it doesn't mean you can work in games, right? Like, oh, this guy is talking about like, he has an eye for this stuff, like he wants to basically like get in the process because he thinks he's so good at it. And I watched his video, and I take a lot of his video as like I think he's being funny. I don't think he's
Yeah.
being super serious about a lot of the way he's talking about this stuff because in the words, like reading through the script, he does sound bullish, right? He does sound like, oh yeah, I got this, man. I know what makes a good game. I know what mechanics work, yada yada yada. For somebody who's never made a game.
Hmm.
That said, right, for somebody who wants to be on the publishing side, I don't know. I kind of get it, right? Like, first of all, publishers, the involvement that publishers often have in making video games isn't ever as much as the developer, right? Like, it's going to be on the
Yeah.
developer to actually make the game and get to the finish line and do the bulk of the work, right? Like, publishers might have input, publishers might help you or might guide you, right? Or might like lead you in the right directions at times, but it's not it. The amount of involvement Dunkey I think would have as a publisher versus the developers he's helping out, I don't think is as great as as people are making it out to seem.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
he even says in the video, like, he says, I don't want to like mess up your game. Like, I don't want to touch
mm,
it. Like, I just want to help promote it and push it to be better, which is like the ideal publisher, right?
yeah,
But I mean, as you said, like the script does, like when even reading the quotes here, it sounds really cocky. But in the video, like if you've seen a Dunkey video, like he's joking around, but he also has those very serious moments where he's like, I actually want to do this and I actually want to promote better games and have a good space to promote just people who don't have the chance for that. People who get lost in the sea of like saturated games.
yeah.
And that's a really cool way to do it. I will say that I didn't really like the implication that there aren't people doing stuff like this. Like a couple times in the video, he was like, "There's so many people just pushing bad games and stuff," but it's like, no. I'm sure you know as well. Like you
Hmm.
work with developers, like PR teams. Like there's people pushing for smaller games. Like that's
Oh
my only
yeah,
thing. I was like, you're not the only one doing this, but I'm excited for like a big YouTube channel to be doing something like this.
yeah. I'm excited for somebody whose taste I actually really like doing something like this.
Yep.
It's the same as if like when I think of the people whose taste in games I identify with, if Dan Reichert did something like this, I'd be like, oh hell yeah. Because guess what? I like Dan Reichert's taste in video games. And so he
Yeah.
feels like I'm gonna make an indie publisher and really push the kind of games that I like. For sure. It's the same way I look at Devolver, for example, right? Devolver being
Oh,
a
Devolver's too
big
fire. Yeah,
example,
yeah.
right? But like Devolver puts out a lot of games that I really like, and there's a team or somebody over there that probably has similar tastes as I do when it comes to, yeah, man, let's make these
Yeah.
short games with great action, fast paced, dope soundtracks, a lot of
And they're
colors.
all so different too. Like I feel
Yeah,
like the only through line with them is that a lot of them are like black and red. Like a lot of those games
exactly.
do have that theme, but like Inscription and Cult of the Lamb, so different.
Yeah.
And also both fire.
And I think it's in contrast to even Annapurna as a publisher, right? Where Annapurna also has their own vibes of games that are speaking to the Annapurna audience, right? Like
Hmm.
whenever we're in a Nintendo Direct or some sort of presentation that has an Annapurna game there, Greg Miller is always like, "Oh, this is the one! Like this looks amazing, right?" And I think it's really cool and really dope to have um, publishing labels that have their own identity that are really trying to curate for what kind of games that they believe in.
Hmm.
All that said, right? I think there is a good chance that this doesn't work out for Dunkey and that this thing fails and that he is too bullish and that like, he underestimated the amount of work and effort it takes to actually do something like this because this is a big undertaking.
Yeah.
Making video games is really difficult, all that stuff. That said, I'm excited to see him try. I'm excited to see where this goes. Yeah, like I like it's funny enough as I've been like again reading all this stuff. Another thing that came to mind was I don't know if you're familiar with I don't know how it's pronounced Kowloon Knights or Kowloon Knights.
Yeah, yeah.
Um they're the ones who've like they're an indie game publishing fund and like I've been seeing their name more and more on different games. The latest one being Rollerdrome, but they've been in quite a few games. And like the more I see their names, the more I'm like, oh shit, like these guys are actually like aiming at the right projects, right? Like
Yeah.
they have a good eye for quality in terms of figuring out the things that they're going to support. And now we get to have dope ass games like again, like Rollerdrome and the list goes on in terms of stuff that they've done. And so yeah, I'm pulling for him. I hope he's able to make this work.
Yeah.
And
It'll be
I'm
really
excited to see
cool,
where it goes.
especially with his reach. Like he could post any game and like millions of people will see it. So it'll be excited to follow that story, even if it goes well or if it kind of crashes. Like I'm very fascinated to see what the first game will be and like what the system will look like, if it'll be through his YouTube channel or if it'll be something else.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean the guy's funny and I also appreciate his taste. So I don't know. I'm excited for smaller developers to get a chance with a really huge platform, because I don't think even bigger publishers have that ability to take that risk on someone and to just like promote it to so many people so quickly. So yeah, that'll be pretty cool to see.
I want to bring in a write-in from CW14, who writes into patreon.com/kindafunnygames, just like you can. It says, "Is Videogamedunkey gonna save indies? Last night, Videogamedunkey dropped a video stating he's jumping into the publishing game with the launch of Big Mode. In the video, he states that he wants to be more active in the process of shining a light on worthwhile games, as well as guiding them to meet the wants and needs of gamers. Do you think he can pull it off? With his 7.2 million sub count on YouTube, he might have the reach, but will devs trust Big Mode with their games? Thanks for all you do." And I'm mostly interested in the last part of that, in terms of, will devs trust Big Mode with their games? That's the one wrinkle where I hope they get it right, and I hope, like, I hope devs pay attention to, like, cool, how much money are they offering in terms of supporting your game, right? Because especially talking about it being Dunkey, it being somebody from the creator space, it being somebody who, as they talk, right, a lot of these words, again, seem bullish. If I'm a video game developer and I am either approaching Big Mode or Big Mode is approaching me,
Yeah.
I'm making sure they got the bag in hand, right? I'm making sure that I'm not getting screwed over here in terms of splits, or in terms of, oh shit, we thought we were gonna get support, we're actually not getting the support we needed, and now this project is failing. I think I think that is gonna be the big hurdle, especially for developers trusting Big Mode. But Funke, where do you stand on it?
I also feel like that the reach is so large that a lot of developers are going to be jumping at the chance to be a part of this, no matter what it is, just because it is Dunkey. Like, he's a figure in the YouTube gaming community. I think people are going to be really willing to work with them, but it's just like, how do those projects go? Like, how is the actual process with that? And are they planning for all of this? Did they do the research for game development, or is it just like kind of bullish statements, as you said? But hopefully it's the former. Like, I really hope this goes well, because this is exciting. Like, I would love to see like more projects in this realm, with creators, like long form creators who are established in the industry, being like, you know what, I want to make my own thing. I want to help people make their own things as well. Like, that's the kind of pay it forward thing that I really love to see. So yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be fun to follow, and hopefully fun to play as well. My only thing is, like, I don't think indies are suffering. I don't think it's gonna save indies.
Yeah.
but
No,
like,
he's gonna save the indies, guys. They're
Save
the indies are dying out there. He's gonna save
Listen,
them.
I this morning I picked up Trombone Champ on Steam. That's the game that everybody's been tweeting about for the last couple of days,
Yeah.
where it's the rhythm game with the trombone and everybody plays real badly and it's hilarious. If that game can have the life that it's having today in 2022, indie games are in a great place. Because let me tell
Right?
you, that's a banger ass game. That game is
Yeah.
ridiculous. That game shouldn't exist. That game exists though, and it's killing it, and it's fucking fun. Indie games are in a great, let alone look at this year in video games,
Yeah.
and the amount of amazing indies versus even the amount of amazing AAA games. Like, I think this year, if I were to sit and like go one by one of, all right, here are all the 5 out of 5 indie games that came out this year versus 5 out of 5 AAA games, I think
Yeah.
indie games might actually eclipse the AAA games. We've had a lot of
Absolutely.
banger ones this year.
There's been so many fire ones. Like, Neon White, I guess, like double A game kind of thing. But
Mhm.
all of those, Ollie
Still
Ollie World
indie.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
These ones
Sifu,
are
Cult of the
Sifu,
Lamb. I know a lot of people love Stray. Like,
Stray,
As Dust Falls, I absolutely loved. Like, Escape Academy, I don't know if I'd say 5 out of
Raft.
5, but it's, dope. The list
Mhm.
goes on in terms of dope ass indies. I
It's
don't think indies are in a bad place necessarily.
Yeah, especially with the pandemic hitting, a lot of AAA studios really that threw a wrench in a lot of their plans. But the smaller studios who were already working remotely and doing these longer form, small team based projects didn't really see too much of an effect, and like could continue to work in their cycles. So that's why we're seeing these indies like populated in the space. And I feel like it's been so cool to have a bit of a lull of AAA games. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of love having that space to play around with new indies and also go back. Like, my backlog is so long. Like, I don't know about you, but that is never ending. So this past couple of years has been fun to like go back and also check out the new indies as well.
Yeah,
Um,
this last week I've been playing Inscription and Tinykin, and when I tell
Ooh.
you that It's been such a fantastic time. Like coming off of God of War, which of course God of War an amazing game, but it's
Mhm.
also a AAA ass first party PlayStation
Sony
ass
ass,
game,
yep.
right? Like I get in
The
God of War and I'm
popcorn
like
cinematic.
popcorn cinematic, great story. Like I know what I'm getting when I play God of War and playing through
Yeah.
it for the second time. I'm like, yeah, this is God of War. All right, this is cool. But then when I play Inscription, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm getting with this game. And you know
Yep.
what? That unlocks new feelings for me, right? Where I get when I was playing the other day, right? I got toward the end, like I got toward the final boss, quote
The
unquote.
last act.
I don't even know if it's the final boss. I don't know how far I
Oh.
am in this game. But like I got to that and I was like, well shit, dude, I've not seen anything like this before. And with Tinykin, it's a similar thing where I'm like, dude, I've never seen an art style like this before. I've like
Mm.
I was never a Pikmin person. And like I assume that Tinykin plays what Pikmin probably plays like. And playing it, I'm like, damn, I've been missing a lot because this is fantastic video game or gameplay right here, right? Let alone
Yeah.
great level design and all that stuff. Yeah, dude, like when you find a banger ass indie game to play, I think it unlocks like new forms of games that you didn't even realize you could love. Like again, I'm playing
Mhm.
Trombone Champ this morning, and I'm like, dude, this did not think that I'll enjoy this thing as much as I'm enjoying it. So shout out to indies. I don't think indies need saving, but I'm always down to
Yeah,
play
they
new
definitely
good
need more
ones.
support, like more people
Oh, for sure.
championing indies. So like if Dunkey can do it and do it well without like any problems, then I'm here for it. Like that
You know
sounds
what
like
I'm
a
here
good thing.
for? I'm here for patreon.com/kindafunnygames, where you can go and get the show ad free. And speaking of ads, let us tell you about our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Me Undies. We've all heard of gut instinct, but have you ever heard of butt instinct? It's when your butt tells you it wants new undies. Listen to your butt. Luckily, we work with Me Undies, makers of the most buttery, soft, and sustainable undies, bralettes, and socks that exist. You know that I have lived my life Me Undies head to toe for the majority of the last couple years. I'm just all in on Me Undies because they are absolutely the most comfortable clothes I've ever put on my body. Available in sizes extra small to 4XL. They have new colors and prints dropping weekly, so there's always something exciting to check out. You can try their free to join membership for free shipping on every order and exclusive perks, like an item shipped to your door every month, secret sales, and early access to their newest stuff. MeUndies has a great offer for you guys out there. For any first-time purchasers, you get 20% off plus free shipping and returns. To get 20% off your first order, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/kindafunny. That's MeUndies.com/kindafunny. Shout out to Shopify for sponsoring this episode. Shopify powers our very own kindafunny.com/store, our merch store. And we love how Shopify has the tools and resources that make it easy for any business to succeed from down the street to around the globe. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big business, so upstarts, startups, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere. Shopify unlocks the opportunity of your business to more people every day. Every 28 seconds, an entrepreneur like you makes their first sale on Shopify. Shopify powers millions of businesses from first sale to full scale. You can reach customers online and across social networks with an ever-growing suite of channel integrations and apps. It's more than a store. Shopify grows with you. You can go to shopify.com/KFgames, all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/KFgames right now. That's SHOPIFY.com/KFgames, all lowercase.
Funke, we just talked about a brand new publisher. Let's talk about a brand new developer with story number 3. Brand new developer approaches. This comes from Twitter at Big Blue Sky Games tweets this. Greetings, we're Big Blue Sky Games, and we're thrilled to announce our brand new game studio. We're here to create memorable experiences built by a development team that will never have to worry about burnout or job stability. When you click over to their website, they have an About Us page that reads like this. What makes us unique? From humble beginnings, we built up something special. A meaningfully diverse, distributed group of wildly talented game development professionals working to make games you want to play. When you go to your favorite restaurant and ask the waiter to surprise you, knowing that everything on the menu is great, they've earned your trust. We want to do that with games. To build experiences so memorable, you're coming back to try whatever else we cook up. We believe that turnover and burnout are preventing rewarding careers in games, and in turn, that the quality of games built by folks worried about losing their jobs or crunching constantly is lower than it would be if they felt empowered and protected. To that end, a primary driving motivation for us is not only attract coworkers our ambitions speak to, but to work actively every day to provide stability for them and their families. Diversity and inclusion aren't buzzwords for us. From day one, we've worked to diversify our staff, and while we're proud of the significant representation we've achieved, we also recognize that our work never ends. Our games are for everyone, and they're built with real life players in mind. We want our games to be approachable for people of all ages and from all walks of life, whether you want to play for 20 hours straight, editors note, we don't recommend this, or can only play for 20 minutes. So there you go. Big Blue Sky Games. Funke, does this excite you at all?
Absolutely. I mean, everything that they're saying hits all of the things that I think are issues in the gaming industry and things that need to change, specifically on the development side. Like Burnout, we see stories about all of these latest like AAA games that come out maybe even a few months after, where people are staying 140-hour work weeks, are crunching, they can't see their families, and they're working for like no benefits as well. So like there's definitely issues with the game industry, and I appreciate them saying all of these things. But at the end of the day, they are words right now. Like they haven't implemented these things yet. So I'm still a bit like hesitant to completely be like 100% excited. I'm like, okay, this sounds really nice, but let's see what actually happens, because I think a lot of studios promise to avoid crunch and to avoid all of these negative aspects of the gaming industry, but like let's see what the finished product is, or what those processes look like as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. Like I'm somebody, I want to see action, right? I'm somebody I'm going to support new studios popping up, because I think new indie studios, or even like bigger studios that don't aren't necessarily owned by a big gigantic corporation by Sony and Microsoft, for me that's always a welcome thing, right? Because I want to see that creative freedom, and I want to see people chart their own path. And I think they're saying a lot of the right things. I'm sure they're early enough to where they probably don't even know what game they're making. And so yeah, reading through it and like not getting a hint of like what any of the games are, it's like, all right, cool. Like I guess we'll see what it is whenever they announce it. But my other thing is like, again, what is the action that you're following, right? Or is it just lip service? When I read the part that says diversity and inclusion aren't buzzwords for us, from day one we've worked to diversify our staff, and while we're proud of the significant representation we've achieved, we also recognize that work never ends. I read that and I was like, all right, let me look at the like.
Okay, me too.
Let me look at the roster. Let me look at the roster of people working at Big Blue Sky Games. And let me tell you, I don't know if that totally lines up with what they're talking about here, because it is all white people. It is all like it
is like art of these people, but it looks 95% white people. Like you can say diversity and buzz is not a buzzword for you, but like there's a lot of white people here. If I don't see like someone that looks like me or like some of my friends, like it makes me question the words that you're saying, especially when that post is a lot of just promises about these things that people want to hear on the internet, and it just, I'm not seeing that.
Yeah, 1,000%. Yeah, and it's like I don't have anything against any of the people here who work here. Like some of these people I even know, right? Like I think this team is probably talented. This team probably, like, I imagine this team is gonna do good work. But it's just the contrast of, if you're gonna talk about diversity and inclusion and say that there aren't buzzwords for us, like you gotta back that up.
You really do. Like,
and so that's the one thing
game there yet. Yeah, it is exciting that these are their pinnacles of what they're trying to achieve with their game development studio. So I really hope that they get there and can make these projects with truly diverse teams, and avoid crunch. Like that's what people are trying to do, and they should be.
1,000%. Let's hop into story number 4. We have a date for the first Mario movie teaser trailer. This comes directly from the New York Comic Con Twitter, where they tweeted out this morning: join us on October 6th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time for the teaser trailer premiere of Nintendo and Illumination's upcoming Super Mario Bros. Film, releasing April 7th, 2023. Funke, what's your read on this Mario movie?
Oh my God. First of all, fever dream of a cast. Like, I still cannot believe that those people are going to be acting in that movie. Like, it shocks me to this day.
Man. I can't wait for it.
It's going to be so silly. And I feel like whenever I talk to people about the movie, they think it's going to be live action because it's a lot of live action actors, but it's animated. And I love animation, so I'm excited to see what they do. I just really don't mess with Chris Pratt as Mario. Like, come on.
I don't know. This is pretty convincing right here. This right here. You guys see the gift that I put up too? I like that. I'm pretty sure like he's gonna nail it.
Damn. He's
I
looking
just have
good
so
as
many
Mario.
questions. I have to
Jokes
I have to see
aside,
the
though,
teaser.
Jack Black as Bowser, right? Is
No, that's
actually-
perfect.
That's kind of inspired right there. I
That's
love that.
inspired. I forget. Is Seth Rogen in it?
Yeah, isn't
He's
he
Donkey Kong.
He's Donkey
Yeah.
Kong. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I thought I made that up in my the castings are so wild that in my head I was like, Seth Rogen's in that movie. It's Donkey Kong, right? And
Isn't
then I was
the
like,
Portlandia
no way.
guy in it too? Do we know who the Portlandia guy is voicing?
I think so. I'm not sure. I don't remember. Let me
God.
pull up a
I mean,
list,
Keegan
actually.
Michael Key is in it. Is Toad.
It's
And so you can say any name is in it, and I'm just gonna believe you at this point. Like, oh yeah, they got
Charlie
Michael
Day
Cera.
is Luigi.
Charlie Day is Luigi. And again, I thought you were about to make a joke when you said Charlie Day. I thought you were about to make a punchline, but then yeah, forgot he's Luigi.
Oh,
And
also,
so-
yeah, Fred Armisen is Cranky Kong.
Oh my
I didn't know
God.
he would be in this, but yeah.
Honestly, it's a great cast list. Other than
It's a stacked cast list, honestly.
Definitely stacked.
I am so curious to see what this teaser trailer is. If they're able to get us on their side, I don't know if you guys are on their side. I'm not on their side yet. I'm morbidly curious.
Yeah,
but
I'm
also
gonna
excited.
watch it.
I'm excited about the idea that Sonic can finally be better than Mario at something. That's where I'm at. The Sonic supremacy. We did it. We made it.
We don't even know yet.
We own the film business. Well, like, what are the
you and
chances that this thing is a banger?
I mean, they have so much money, so that like production wise, hopefully it looks nice. But I don't know. It could go either way, and I think that what I really want from the trailer is to ease my anxieties about this. I just want like a good Mario story. I want something like really wild that isn't too similar to a game. Like I don't want him going through like 1-1 all the way through like a level. Like I want something crazy.
Dude,
like how they
if they
go
had
for
that
Galaxy.
moment, though, could you imagine, like, if it, because you know how was it the Doom movie where they went into first person for a second?
Oh yeah.
They had like a first person sequence. I want that for the Mario movie, where it is just them
Oh,
chilling,
God.
them kicking it, and then all of a sudden there's a 2-minute set piece in the movie of them literally just going through World 1-1 recreated faithfully.
That would give me motion sickness though. Imagine that in first person. Like that would be freaky. Like you go to the left, you just fall off. You go to the right, you just fall off.
If I get like a camera pan and it just transitions to them running on a 2D plane, they did the damn thing. You know what I mean? They did the damn thing. I'm so curious about this. I'm so excited about this. Morbidly excited, but excited nonetheless. Let's hop into story number 5. Let's talk about Splinter Cell. The Splinter Cell remake will update the story for a modern day audience. This comes from Ryan Leston at IGN. The Splinter Cell remake will be rewritten to be more relevant to a modern-day audience. A job listing for a scriptwriter spotted by PSU has revealed some details about the upcoming Splinter Cell game, and it looks as though it's going to get a rewrite and update the original. Quote, using the first Splinter Cell game as our foundation, we are rewriting and updating the story for a modern-day audience, it reads. Quote, we want to keep the spirit and themes of the original game while exploring our characters and the world to make them more authentic and believable, end quote. Splinter Cell was originally released back in 2002 and introduced Sam Fisher, an NSA Black Ops agent who is investigating the disappearance of 2 CIA officers. As the story unfolds, Sam finds himself in the middle of a plot full of political intrigue as the world teeters on the brink of all-out war. It's up to Sam to use his stealthy abilities to avert a global crisis. Now, it looks as though that crisis will have a more modern spin, although it's not clear exactly what form that will take. Quote, as a scriptwriter at Ubisoft Toronto, you will join the narrative team and help create a cohesive and compelling narrative experience for a new audience of Splinter Cell fans, reads the listing. Funke, are you a Splinter Cell person?
No, I'm actually not. I was 4 when that game came out, so like I didn't have the chance to play it, but I do really appreciate remakes that are more adapted to the modern day because I would love to see what makes people so excited about this series. Like I think about the Capcom Fighter collection that released a few months ago and how that revitalized so many fighting games that I never had the chance to play and that I now really, really love. Like have you ever heard of Red Earth? this
No,
like
but I
old
also checked out the fighting game collection. And
Yeah,
I was like,
yo,
what the
Red
fuck is half
Earth.
this shit?
Yeah, I was just like, what is this? But Red Earth is like a fighting game, like a 2D style fighting game, but you're fighting like bosses. Like it's a story based game. Like you're just fighting a giant like wizard with like a rock on his back, and the rock lays eggs that are electrocuting people. Like
Hell
it's
yeah.
just the most bizarre character designs that were hidden away and way before my time. But because it was in a collection, repackaged, revitalized in every way, I could experience that, and now I like have a really fun game to play. So I'm excited for this remake, and I hope that it really does touch on things that are more relevant to me and my life, because I feel like I'd enjoy it more.
Yeah, I'm curious about this one. Like you, I'm not a big Splinter Cell person, but
Mhm.
I would try out this remake once it comes out. Like the only
Yeah.
I've played literally one Splinter Cell game, and it's Splinter Cell Conviction that came out in 2010. And let me tell you,
Now, what is that?
It's like a mainline Splinter Cell game, but it's
Okay.
one that I think the Splinter Cell audience doesn't appreciate as much. Because whenever I talk to people and I'm like, yeah, I played Splinter Cell Conviction, they're like, oh, you played Conviction? Like, oh man, you gotta play one of the better ones. And I'm like, fair enough, but I don't know. I thought Conviction was cool. I liked a lot of the stuff they did visually in that game. But like I'd be down to play something that invokes more. Hey, this is classic Splinter Cell. This is what you love from it. Like one of my friends, Alex Van Aken, talks a lot about spies versus mercs, and I don't know if they've talked about that at all for the new Splinter Cell, but like for him, when he thinks of Splinter Cell and what he appreciates from it, like that is what comes to mind, and I want to experience some of that
Was
stuff.
that like
right?
asymmetrical multiplayer?
I believe so. Yeah.
I think I've heard a bit about that. Yeah, people like talk about it so well, like really praise it, but I never had the chance to play that, so I don't know what that feels like. So I'm right with you there.
Yeah, like I want to experience, because Splinter Cell is the type of game that I would like. You know, I think for me it was more so the fact that I just didn't have like I'm trying to think of the consoles that Splinter Cell was coming out on. I think I was always on the opposite console, because I was an
Ah.
SD4 kid, then I was a PS2 kid, then I was a PS3 kid. And like Splinter Cell I associate with Xbox for some reason. But you can kindafunny.com/you wrong me if I'm off base with that. But I just never had the chance to play Splinter Cell, and I was also more invested in Metal Gear Solid. But I think
Good
I like the
games,
fact that
by
they're
the way.
modernizing it. Yeah, good games. But like for those games, for the Splinter Cell games that are what, over decades old at this point, right? Over a decade old, maybe a decade and a half. Yeah, like find ways to modernize it if those game stories don't hold up.
Yeah, they
So
came
I
out.
think,
It came out 20 years ago. It started,
damn,
2002.
really?
Yeah, yeah.
Holy cow. Well, yeah, like I think that's good news that they're finding ways to make it up to date. Especially if they're ground up remaking it. It sounds like it's gonna be a more substantial thing than even what I assumed originally. So good on you, Ubisoft.
Yeah,
Let's hop
shout
into
out Toronto.
Is it Ubisoft Toronto making this one? Are you from
Yeah.
Toronto?
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Oh,
here
hell
right
yeah.
now too.
Heck yeah. Are you a big Drake person? Do you rep the six the way that Drake
Legally,
reps
we
the
have
six?
to be. We have to be big Drake people. We know all the lyrics. They're just playing when you walk down the street. They're just
Yeah.
like cars are playing
Like-
Drake, restaurants are playing Drake.
Every street corner in Toronto has speakers that
Yeah.
that's playing Drake. I forget, is Justin Bieber from Toronto also?
He's from Stratford, but says he's from Toronto, which is like right
Okay.
outside of Toronto.
Gotcha. So it's kind of like a Bay Area thing, blessing, where like people in the East Bay just say they're from San Francisco, kind of thing. Does the city of
Gotcha.
Toronto have any comments on the DMs he leaked himself?
Wait, of Drake or Justin
Yeah.
Bieber?
No, Drake.
With Fantano.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, you talking about the
Oh my
Anthony
God.
Fantano one?
Yeah.
That was such a great moment. Cause like,
Yeah.
So
why
good.
would you even do that's like Corey Barlog. That's like Corey Barlog DMing me and being mean for some reason, and then leaking his DM. Like, why the fuck are you hitting up Anthony Fantano of all people?
You
Like,
don't need to
you're
DM
Drake.
him. Yeah,
You're Drake.
At
Go
the end of
take
the
care of your
day.
child, damn it.
Get his ass.
Dude is doing everything except, hey man, it is what it is. Let's hop into the next news story. Story number 6. Microsoft CEO says he's very confident the Activision deal will gain approval. This comes from Tom Ivan at Video Games Chronicle. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella has said he's very confident that the company's planned acquisition of Activision Blizzard will gain regulatory approval. The proposed $68.7 billion acquisition of the Call of Duty publisher would be the games industry's biggest ever deal, comfortably surpassing the record $12.7 billion Take-Two and Zynga merger completed earlier this year. And the deal is currently being scrutinized by regulators concerned about antitrust issues during a time of increasing consolidation in the gaming industry. Quote, of course, any acquisition of this size will go through scrutiny, but we feel very, very confident that will come out, Nadella told Bloomberg. Nadella told Bloomberg Microsoft is either the fourth or fifth biggest player in the video game industry, and that PlayStation maker, Sony, is the largest. Quote, so if this is about competition, let us have competition, end quote. And honestly, I included this news story just for that last quote, because that's a fucking quote right there. If this is about competition, let us have competition. That's a bar. That's a bar.
It's
Satya
a
Nadella.
bar. It is a bar, but it's also like I don't mess with it. Like, I don't think these companies should be owning all of these things. Like, we were just talking about indies, right? And like having that freedom. So to have like these playmakers owning so much and they're getting critiqued for owning all of these products and these businesses, and for the Microsoft CEO's answer to be like, well, theirs is bigger, like they have more stuff, like why can't we have more stuff? Like,
it's the arms
just
race, right?
Yeah,
And, like,
I'm just like,
the arms race isn't inherently good for the industry, right? In the way that like even the concept of capitalism is inherently good for the industry, right? And this is just that race to the top of, all right, you're buying Activision, well, as Sony, we're gonna buy them, and like Microsoft going, well, we're gonna buy them, and then Tencent being like, bet we're gonna buy everybody, and then lay off people, you know?
Like that stuff is so wild. And the past couple of years, we've seen so many of these deals. Like Bethesda, that blew my mind. It still does. Like they made that whole deal with Microsoft, and I don't know. It kind of sends shivers down my spine when I think of the next 3 years, like what the space looks like and how many indie developers there are if people are just like picking them up and picking them up. And yes, it's good that they get like more financial freedom, but the creativity is something that I'm like, what's gonna happen there? And like, what if management changes and are a bit harder on them? Like, all of these things could happen. Like, I also think of Xbox Game Pass a lot. Like, I really mess with it right now. Like, I think that's a great way to get into games, especially if you don't want to dedicate so much money to buying every single one. You can do like a subscription service model, but I do think subscription services are kind of shady when we get into the meat of it, because you can pull a game whenever. You can literally just take a game away from people and they don't actually own it physically or digitally. It's basically high-speed renting. I actually wrote a big feature about this for HBO Max and their animations. I don't know if you heard about it, but like HBO Max took a bunch of animations off of their platform, like Infinity Train, OKKO, Close Enough, and literally didn't even notify anyone on the staff. Like they just pulled it immediately because of some clause in the contract. They're allowed to do that stuff. So when I see that happening in the video streaming industry, it kind of scares me for the game streaming industry, because right now it's really nice, but in a couple of years, like, what if it just changes? Like, it's so easy for that to change.
And that's been sort of my argument when it comes to a lot of this industry consolidation stuff of, all right, Microsoft is buying Bethesda, Microsoft's buying Activision, and PlayStation's buying Bungie, PlayStation's buying these other studios. And I think a lot of the immediate reaction is, well, we like Microsoft. Like, we like Xbox. Like, Xbox Game Pass is dope, right? Well, Call of Duty can come to Game Pass. Think about how good that is for the consumer. And my counter argument to that idea is Microsoft/Sony aren't always going to be the companies that we might like right now. You know, like when we talk about the console space, every 7 years there's a villain, right? Like they switch sides in terms of being the villain. Like think about how beloved Sony was 7 years ago. Not that everybody hates Sony now, but think about all the choices they made to then like kind of that's now kind of leading them back into the villain role. Think about where Xbox was 7 years ago. Like Xbox can get back to that place, and surely Xbox at some point are going to be back in that place of the villain role, right? Like just because right now they're making all of those decisions to try and get that good grace and get to the top. Like once these companies are at the top, guess what? Their priority becomes, now let's make more money. Let's increase the price of Game Pass.
Is.
You know?
Yeah, and like they're scheming in the background. Like, don't think they aren't. Like, while they're getting in our good graces right now and showing us all these products like Game Pass and getting us hooked in, like they're gonna do stuff like raise the prices or like take away games faster. Like these things happen. We've seen it even with Netflix. Like they're charging so much for Netflix. I'm not even using that stuff right now. Like all of those things can happen when you're in the cycle of the streaming world and you're just buying these products, and you look at these companies like they're deities when they, at the end of the day, are companies trying to make more money. So like I do like that it's cool that these studios are getting more money from like a bigger publisher and companies like Microsoft and Sony, but there's this creeping feeling like I'm like, I don't like that they're owning all of these different places that could have been doing their own thing. And what is the space going to look like in a few years down the line?
Yeah, and a few things I want to address. Like somebody in chat says, "All right, so who do we trust then?"
People.
Don't trust capitalism. Don't trust
Yes!
companies.
Don't
Stop
trust
trusting
them.
corporations. That's first and
Stop.
foremost. Crush Lemons in chat also mentioned a little bit ago, if a company wants to sell, what should happen then, right? And like, of course, if you want to sell. But think about the conditions that lead to these companies wanting to sell. Think about the fact that Square Enix, right, sold off Eidos Montreal and Crystal Dynamics to Embracer Group. Think about the fact that Crystal Dynamics had just put out Guardians of the Galaxy, a game that was beloved by, or wait, was that Eidos? Sorry, now I'm mixed up. One of them put out Guardians of the Galaxy, a game that was beloved by people, right? Like they put out Tomb Raider, like they were working on Deus Ex, and Deus Ex wasn't financially viable, even though those games were dope as hell. Like think about the volatility of the third-party AAA space when these games can't succeed and be good and find an audience. I think that's more the issue here, is that like the industry itself is volatile, and so when these companies want to sell, these companies are in a position where they have to make more money somehow and get rid of these talented studios. Guess what? Like that's a problem. Like we need to figure out how to solve the problem, and the problem comes back to like, what are the systems in place that keeps leading this to happen?
Capitalism. But yeah, like
Yeah.
it is so true. And before, like as we were saying, like don't trust companies. Like we can use them and utilize their stuff, but like they don't have your best interest in mind. Like they truly don't. Like you just have to have a level head and like appreciate what they're giving you, but also stay skeptical. Like don't always just be like, okay, they're comforting me. Like they're maybe doing that right now, but that could change in a day.
100%. Last story on the Roper Report, story number 7. Dying Light 2's first story DLC has been delayed again. This is Tom Ivan at VGC. Techland has delayed the release of Dying Light 2, Stay Human's first story DLC for the second time. Having originally targeted a June launch for the game's Bloody Ties expansion before pushing it to release in mid-October, the DLC will now hit PC, PlayStation, and Xbox consoles in November. Quote, "We've taken the decision to postpone the launch of Bloody Ties until November 10th to allow the team extra time to polish and squash bugs," Techland explained. And let me tell you, God of War better get out the way, because the DLC for Dying Light 2 is coming out November 10th. That's the only thing I'm going to be playing in November. Am I right, Funke?
All right.
Am I right?
Let's go!
Let's go. The Dying Light 2 DLC. We did it, everybody.
All right, y'all. Calm
Okay,
down.
I'm so excited for November, so I can clear my schedule and only play the Dying Light 2 DLC. But that release is just so far away. If I want to know what's coming out to mom and grab shops today, where would I look?
The official list of upcoming software across each and every platform as listed by the Kinda Funny Games Daily Show host every single weekday.
Yeah. Out today, we got No Place for Bravery for Switch and PC, Serial Cleaners for PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, Session for PS5, PS4, Xbox One, and PC, The Deal Field Chronicles for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. I'm just going to say it's out for everything, if it's out for everything. The Outbound Ghost out for everything. Potion Permanent is out for everything. Slime Rancher 2 Early Access is out for PC. COD Modern Warfare 2 Open Beta Weekend 2 is out for everything.
Isn't that game out?
Modern Warfare 2? No, it's not out. I think the beta's out. Yeah, people been playing the beta. One Shot World Machine Edition is out for PS4, Switch, Xbox One. Desert Revenant is out for PC. Electrician Simulator is out for PC. And then Spider Heck is out for everything. And let me tell you, Spider Heck looks pretty cool. We got new dates for you. Valkyrie Profile Lenneth has been delayed to December 22nd. Dragon Quest Treasures comes to Switch on December 9th. Hidden Through Time Definite Edition is available November 11th for PS4 and Switch. Die by the Blade is arriving November 3rd on PS5 and PS4. That's a cool looking fighting game that's like, it's like blade based, and like it looks janky but also looks fun at the same time. And so if you're a fighting game person, maybe check that out. And then King's Hunt will enter early access on November 3rd on Steam. Got one deal of the day for you. Spider Heck, like I mentioned earlier, came out and it's on Game Pass, so you can play that game for free. Again, I urge you, check out a trailer for Spider Heck, because that game looks pretty ridiculous. Now it's time for kindafunny.com/you're wrong, where you write in, let us know what we got wrong as we got it wrong, so we can correct it for those watching later on YouTube and listening later on podcast services around the globe. Nitro writes in and says, Eidos Montreal made Guardians of the Galaxy and has an 80 on Metacritic. Crystal Dynamics made Marvel's Avengers, loved by Greg Miller. Thank you so much, Nitro39. And I would also ask the question, what led to the conditions that made a game titled Marvel's Avengers a game that ended up failing, a game that ended up not great? Is it the fact that
Capitalism.
was it capitalism? Was it the fact that they wanted to make money and they're like, you know what we're gonna do to this game? We're gonna make it a live service game, but give it bad live service options and not give it the support it needs? Is that the reason? Let's think about it. And then Nano says Outbound Ghost is only out on Steam. It is coming to consoles later this year. Thank you so much, Nano Biologist. Tomorrow's hosts for Kinda Funny Games Daily are me and Carly Veloci, formerly of Windows Central. If you're watching this live on YouTube right now, over on Twitch after this is Nick playing Fortnite. If you want to catch that stream later, you can of course subscribe to youtube.com/kindafunnyplays. Before I sign off, Funke, first of all, thank you so much for joining me. Second
Of course,
off,
thank you for having me.
yeah. Secondly, where can people find your work if they wanted to follow you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at FUNKEFLY, Funkefly, and on Twitch at the same username. Also, you can check out my site. It's in my bio for all those things. It's funke.cargo.site. Yeah, and I'm doing some projects. I got some stuff in the works, but yeah, I'm doing some freelance.
Hell yeah, go support Funke. We're going to talk more about Funke in the post show, including Funke's gaming history. So stay tuned for that. Remember, this has been Kinda Funny Games Daily, each and every weekday live right here on youtube.com/kindafunnygames. We run you through the nerdy news you need to know about. We have a Patreon post show for those that are subbed at the silver level of patreon.com/kindafunnygames. So stick around for that. Otherwise, until next time, Game Daily.
Later.